Hopefully it'll let me turn the video back on. That's blank. Today we'll do without video of me, besides what you saw to begin with. Now remember, actually go back here. We had our input and output. That's where we bring the scanner and so forth. We talked about our void methods. That's where you can write your own separate method that you can call, and they can call each other. The conditionals and logic. This is where you have items that can be true or false. Equals equals, test for something's equal. The exclamation equals is not equal to, greater than, less than, and so forth. Now this is used in potentially two places where you have your a conditional check and where you do some repetition. We had this example here where we're checking whether this condition is true or not. If grade is greater than or equal to 80 and grade is less than or equal to 89. And we talked about how you can flip them to the opposite and so forth with those. Those aren't the only items that are Boolean. You can have checks like this. Fruit1 dot equals fruit2, and that's going to return true or false. So there's other methods that have been defined that can be Boolean. We could define our own. For example, get rid of all this. We didn't look at one of these examples, but public void, or not public void, public Boolean. So we need to get the right spelling on it. Test numbers, and bring in N1 and bring in N2. So we can write our own method to determine if two numbers are equal to each other. Test numbers is probably a bad name. Is same as. And let's see. If N1 is equal to N2, then I'll return true. Else, I'll return false. So this is going to return true or false, 1 or 0, yes or no type of deal. So then in your code up here, you could check if is same as, pass in 3 and 3. Then system.out.print line. The numbers are the same. It doesn't like something there. What this is going to do is this is going to call is same as right here. It's going to pass in these two numbers, 3 and 3, So N1 will be 3 and N2 will be 3. It'll come down here and check. If they're equal, which they are, 3 is equal to 3, it'll return true. So when it comes back here, it returns true, and if this is true, then it'll print this line. You can also, well, let's run that first, just show it. Numbers are the same. Well, that doesn't mean anything if it doesn't work the other way too. So if we're random putting a 4 in, oh, I didn't print anything, but it worked because it didn't print anything. I should have put an else here. So that's one way you can use Boolean. You can define your own. Now, instead of doing that, you could have up here equals true. This will accomplish the same task. It's just usually if you name this properly, you don't need to put equals true because it's evident what it's doing. It's like checking. Probably my name isn't very good, but so that's what this is doing. We've got fruit1 dot equals and then fruit2. They've written some code to check to see if these two strings are equal to each other. So again, Boolean appears in a lot of different areas. You could write an infinite number of methods that return Boolean. Now this is what we're talking about the other day, or and, or, and not. Here's where I was talking about De Morgan's laws. We just covered that in Introduction to Digital Design. But this is where if you do the complement, this here, the not of an and, you complement each one of these separately and put an or between them. Like I say, we don't really have to think about it that much. Typically, if you want to flip this to the opposite meaning, you just put an exclamation in front of it. You don't have to sit there and rewrite it this way. This gets tricky if you're going on to get a bachelor's. You have to take a bachelor's in computer science, I should say. You have to take a discrete structures class, and I can wrap my mind around that somewhat. But then when you put something in there for it, like A and B, sunny and I'm cold. If you want to flip that to the opposite, and that's what that discrete structures class examines, is you have to think the Boolean logic, the truth tables and so forth. How do you flip it to the opposite? Well, a very easy way in programming is, I've mentioned before, you just put an exclamation in front of it, and then whatever you have. But as this indicates, you change this to not A, so not sunny, or then you change B, the B, which is I'm cold, to not B, so I'm not cold. There's lots of things besides I'm not that are, when you say I'm cold, the opposite of it isn't I'm hot, because you might be warm. So there's a lot of other options. So again, it gets challenging with those. But like I said, we're just going to use the exclamation. We talked about that before. We got our conditionals and logic, and this right here returns the remainder. And we've got a nested if, else. Here's some more nested ones. Okay. Now our last example we did on this, we talked about grades and so forth, and how to get A, B, C, D, so forth. So we're going to explore this a little bit further with some kind of flag. And the flag we're going to use in conjunction with a looping construct. I want to keep I want to keep getting the input from somebody until something's done. So I want to add all the numbers given. This is what we're talking about with a Boolean flag. You can declare something Boolean to say whether you're done or not. So I can call it done. Well, originally, I'm not done, so I could say done is equal to false. Now, I can say while. Now, if I say done like that, this will keep going while this is true. So I can put an exclamation in front of it, say not done, or if you want to say that, change the wording on this. It's whatever kind of makes more sense to you. So now this comes down here, and since this is a Boolean, we can check see while not done, and if not done is true, it'll keep doing this. So then at some point we'll have set not done equal to false. Okay. Um, System.out.print input next number -1 to quit. Well, I need a variable to bring in that number. This is called, by the way, a Sentinel loop, Sentinel controlled loop, where you're having some kind of number they input, some kind of response they give you that tells you they're done. Okay, so I'm going to declare a number, and actually I'm going to declare sum because I know I'm going to need it. Here, you can put those on the same line if you want. Num is equal to in dot next. That would pop up. I might be able to remember it. Next int. Okay, now we're going to check that. If number is equal to -1, that means we're done. So we'll say not done is equal to false. Else, I want to add num to sum. I need to initialize sum. So up here, I'm going to say equals 0. And then down here outside of my loop, system.out.print, just print, I guess. The sum is percent %d / n, and then sum. Doesn't like something. Printf. Okay, so it's going to come down here. Again, it sets not done equal to true. So while true, it'll keep doing this over and over for infinity. It'll prompt me saying input next number and then -1 to quit. I put in next number, it assigns it to num. I check to see if it's equal to -1. If it is, then I want to kick out of the loop. And I do the not done is equal to false. And then else, I perform that. So now if we run this, we're going to be mixing this in combination with arrays. Because we'll be loading like numbers and arrays. We don't know how many numbers we're going to have. So down here, I put in 3, 5. Now adding those together, that should give us 8 currently. That's 10. Now if I put in -1, that's our key to quit. You see it comes back and tells us that our sum is 10. Questions on that right there? Okay. Well, let's take a look at building a menu. And a menu doesn't make a whole lot of sense when we get to the graphical side of this, which we'll get to shortly. But it helps us to understand the flow of this. Oops, make that. I'll have to close it, or I'll just wipe this all out. Okay, we want to write a program that's controlled via menu. And we can use the same Boolean constructs here with having a flag to control it. Now they're controlling a print line with this, but we're gonna do it a little bit differently. So by the way, Boolean is efficient because it takes up less memory. Sometimes to make it just more readable, I'll declare it's not as strong string done is equal to no. And so I'll do things like that where I'll say while done is equal to no, then I'll perform whatever. Again, the reason why they like Boolean is it takes up less memory. A string takes up more memory, so it has more overhead. Okay. I guess I could use not done again instead of true. And down here, I'm going to have a while not done. Like that. And I want to print a menu of some sort and then ask them for input. So I'm going to say, and part I don't know how to do is how to clear the screen. Maybe there isn't anyway. But I'm going to say system.out.println. David's Medical Clinic. I'm going to open up my own business. Yeah, assuming I can actually put the right items down there. Reach into the file while parsing. Alt enter. Let's see what it says. Doesn't give me a hint. Print. line. David Clinic. Huh. I don't know what I had wrong. I would think it was a single quote. I'm screwing it up, but David's Medical Clinic. System.out, print line. System.out, print line. Let me just keep continuing. Maybe there's nothing wrong with it. Let's see, add new customer. There was nothing wrong with it. Sometimes those IDs they look at lines further down and see I have an issue, so they tell me there's a problem on that line. So add new customer, schedule appointment. System.out, print line. One more. Let's see, close books. Actually, I need one more. I lie. System.out.print line for exit program. Okay, so when they come up, we want this menu to appear. By the way, you might think, well, nobody uses a DOS-based menu like this. Um, well, there's one system I can think of that is DOS-based. It's Pause, I think is what it's referred to as. I don't know what it's running off of, but it's text-based, just like you see. So these still exist. Whether you write a brand new one with this text-based is questionable, but it all depends upon your resources. You know, if the machines you have available can only run this, then that's what you do. And then we'll say print, printf. I don't want it formatted. Input menu choice. Now, if they do any of the first three, I'm going to call methods. So I'm going to create new methods for it to call. If they enter the last one, then I'm done. So I want to exit out of the program. So I'm going to have if statements here. And I'll say if, of course, I need to get my input first. So let me declare up here menu choice. A lot of people put underscores, make it a little bit more readable. Why does this have that? Did I get too many curly brackets? I don't have enough curly brackets. I deleted too much initially. What I did is I counted them. I had 1, 2, 3 starting, so I better have 3 closing. And that's why it's giving me all those red squigglies all along. Menu choice equals in dot next int. So I'm going to say if menu choice equals 1. Then I want to call process new customer. Else, if menu choice is equal to 2, then I'm going to schedule appointment. Else, if menu choice is equal to 3, then I want to close the books. Else, if menu choice is equal to 4, then I want to set my not done flag. If I can remember what is not done. Not done is equal to false. So this is going to give them a menu. Then down here, it'll get the menu choice. And then if they type in 1, it'll process a new customer, add a new customer. I should maybe even say a little bit more readable, I suppose, to have that actually match the text there. If they put in 2, it'll schedule an appointment. If they put in 3, it'll close the books. And then if they put in 4, then we're done. Now you have to put this in the correct place. This beginning curly brace goes with this closing curly brace here. I've seen some people, when they get too many of those, they'll actually document these. The end of the while loop. This next one is the end of the main. Which means for my new methods, add new customer, I need it right here. Public, static, void, add new customer. I'm not going to do anything exciting here besides just say, okay, I just added a new customer. Print line. Just added a new customer. In theory, if we covered databases already, covered files, we would ask for information. What's the customer's name, address, whatever other information. I would either write it to a flat file, store it on the computer, or I'd update a table in a database. And then after I was done with that, it'd return back to the main menu. Okay, so then I want another one. Public, static, void. This will be schedule appointment. Schedule appointment. And system.out.println. Just scheduled an appointment. Again, in reality, what we'd do here is we would ask him for the customer's name. Perhaps we'd look up the customer in the file or the database. And then maybe I display on the screen their birth date. Like whenever I schedule a doctor's appointment, they say they ask for my birth date. I think it could be to verify that I am who I am. Somebody else isn't calling making appointments for me, or just they know they can't discuss any information about your medical with somebody who's not that actual person. I'm not sure what they're using it for. Okay, and public static void close books. And again, just like I mentioned in the previous ones, it's going to ask you a variety of things. System.out print line. Just close the books for the day. Now, by putting those in separate choices, and I'm not sure why this is a yellow, place chain of ifs with switch. No, I don't like switch. I like ifs. By putting this up here in this manner, where I'm calling these, it keeps your code cleaner. Some people might even argue that this should not be part of it, that you should put that in a separate method. Part of a method, besides calling it over and over, is it helps keep your code clean and easy to understand. Okay, so got David's medical clinic here. Has these choices. Down here, input menu choice. I put one in. I'm going to add new customer. You notice that it says just add a new customer. So it ran that code and then it printed the menu again. I put two in. It to schedule an appointment and brought the menu again. 4 should exit out of the program, and it did. Now you can put anything in these methods we're creating here. So if you wanted one particular bit of code to calculate the average, then you could do that. If you want one to calculate standard deviation, you could do that. One to calculate the mean, you could do that. I'm going to Google something because I don't remember how to do it, or if you can do it, I should say. I'm not sure if I ever knew. Java, how to clear screen. Okay, I'm going to steal this code. Don't know if it'll work. Sometimes people put code out there that don't work. I'm not sure why they bother. Okay, so now have to pick the appropriate place to clear the screen. No red squigglies. That's good. Okay, so I go off. I call those. When I'm done calling them, then I want to clear the screen. Clear uppercase S. Clear screen. And let's see if their code works. Okay, so I'm going to add new customer, so press 1. That didn't clear the screen. I have no clue what this even is. Oh. I assume there's a version that works on Windows consoles. If I had read it a little bit clearer. There is no clear screen command. This Java platform is independent. Okay, now I believe that one. Now I can fake it. That'll be good enough. Okay, so I'm going to press 1, add new customer. It added a new customer, and then it did a bunch of new lines, so it looked like it cleared the screen, more or less. That's probably as good as it's going to get. But that's one method. Now, one thing to keep in mind here is this scanner is just declared in this one place. So I cannot use it in these methods down here. Okay, now I moved it outside of this main. I put it up here. Now let's run this and see if it still runs. And exception and thread, where's the error? Failed to execute. Give me enough information about the error. I can actually find the error message. Okay, I don't see it anywhere. Okay. Now if I declare, let me move that back. This up here. And then run it. You see it gives us an error again. Oh, here it is. Uncompilable source code. Menu choice cannot be referenced from a static context. When you got variables declared, these are considered declared within this method. Sometimes, if you're not dealing with a static, you can declare them up here. Since this is static, it's not allowing us to. Reason I mention this is if you want to use this scanner in any of these choices. As I talked about, if you add a new customer, you're going to ask them for information. If I come down to add new customer, it's not going to allow us to do. If I age, for example, if I do age is equal to n dot, you see it doesn't pop up. If I try to do next int like that, it's going to give us an error. So you can't access it there. Well, how do you get around that? One way that I usually do is I just declare this in whatever method I'm going to use it in. And you can use the same name even. So if I copy this and I put it down here, then if I declare age and I want to read in age is equal to n dot next int, you see it works. So that's one method. The assignment I'm going to give you on this is I'm going to have you do this, this technique. What I want you to do is I want you to create a menu choice here, and I want you to have different physics formulas that they'll calculate. For example, I need to just get a good physics formula sheet to save it on my hard drive, but this shows you how to go out and find one for yourself. Free's good. PDF. Educapedia. Not sure if I want to go to that one. Carademoff.info. I'd rather go someplace that looks a little bit more legitimate, like College Board. And here's a bunch of formulas. Vx, what's Vx? V is speed. I assume speed along the x-axis, maybe. But anyway, choose some formulas to program, and I at least want you to have 4. The idea behind it is when I choose a menu choice, then it'll go to that method down here. It'll ask him to input the information. Because if I'm calculating, and forgive my physics knowledge, you're going to laugh if you know physics. This L equals IW. I know that's not W, it's a Greek letter, but I don't remember what it is. Big L is angular momentum. I think that's an I. I is rotational inertia. So you should ask him. You should say, what's the rotational inertia? And then you store it in a variable called I. And then the W looking thing is angular speed. Calculate after they put that in, then find the answer, print it out, and then return back to your menu. Like I said, this is one way. You can bring the scanner in like this. The other way is kind of clunky, and I'm not even sure if I've ever even done it. Here we got scanner called in. And let's see if this works. I'm actually passing in the scanner into this. Where I call it from, the add new customer, I had to pass in. So that's another way. I don't know how much overhead is built in with passing in this object here. Scanner isn't just an object that's been defined. So we're passing in a lot of overhead here, but is that better to do it that way versus declare it in here? I don't know. Now if I choose add new customer, I click 1, add new customer. Not there. Click down here, add 1 new customer. Okay, just add a new customer. It's waiting for me to put an age. So put 33 in, and then it returns back. So when you create a menu-based app that has at least 4 menu choices for 4 different physics formulas with an exit. The exit I'm referring to is this exit program. Each method that's called should prompt the user for the required information and plug it into the formula, physics formula, and print the result. Print the answer. Is there any questions on what I'm looking for there? Let's go back to the book. Um, I think that's bad programming. I'm not going to talk about that at all. We're going to be getting into validating input because you can, if you're looking for a double, you could pass in information that would cause the program to blow up. You could pass in a string. Um, I don't think I'm going to go into that today, though. I want to give you time during class to work on that if you're working on it at home. I just don't want to plow too far ahead. So I think we're going to stop at 5.7. Pretty soon we're going to be getting into the GUI side. So we'll be getting away from the text-based and so we'll be going into loops and arrays and strings. And probably after we get done with the arrays is probably where we're going to switch over to the GUI side. Now use this time to your advantage. If you have questions, you're struggling with something, then let me know. Especially if you have code that isn't working. During this time, I'll try to leave a little bit of time at the end of every class. And I know not everybody's online during this time. So if you email me your code and say, hey, I can't figure out what I'm doing wrong with this at this point, then I'll bring it up during class at the end of these classes, and I'll go through and debug, and so you can see my thought process, like how do I figure out what's wrong. We saw that earlier. I don't always write the code correctly the first time, and it takes me a little while to sometimes figure out what I'm doing wrong. Is there any questions? Anything? How about you? I think Quentin's on. Do you have any questions? Anything? He may not be there. He's he's unmuted himself before, but yeah, that's good to mention that. Or he might not have any questions. Or now, I don't want to go into any more in Java, but let me start talking about just computer science in general. Of course, this is Windows 10, and stop me if I've already mentioned this. I try to mention different classes at different points, but they start running together. But there's something called a regedit utility. This is a registry editor, and if you're going to be working with, I'll say yes there. It popped up and said, "Do you want to go ahead and run this?" You probably didn't see that on your end. If you're going to be working in Windows at some point, you go into computer science and you're programming Windows, you're supporting Windows. This is critical, about the registry. And there's not usually any classes that teach it. I don't know all the details of it. Probably take me a lifetime to know all the details. There's a lot to it, and it's constantly growing. There's 5 main subsections here. Classes root, current user, local machine, users, current configuration. This is the entire database of your Windows machine. So every setting, every installed app, everything is on here. The current user is whoever is currently signed on. If I expand that, you can see some different items here. There's a control panel. Control panel is where you can do settings, colors. These right here may not seem like, well, those don't look like colors, but if I double click one of them, it'll bring this up, and that's in red, green, RGB, red, green, blue. I have to think about that. So these are settings that have been saved by myself, I'm assuming, for the colors. So your menu bar will be 240, 240, 240. Info window is 255, 255, 255. What do these apply to? I have no clue. I didn't write the Windows operating system, so I have no clue what a button decay shadow is. That's why I said you could probably spend a lifetime learning all the different items here, and it keeps changing. Cursors. My mouse cursor is moving around on the screen. Here's where you can manually set it. Now, part of as a computer programmer, you may have to at some point push out a change, a setting, and network administrators do this all the time, but they want to push it out so everybody has the same mouse pointer. So you can go in here, and I couldn't tell you which one's a mouse pointer, but you can push it out. If I want to write a virus that would mess with the registry, I could change everybody's mouse pointer to my smiling face. And so you'd see David's smiling face on 1 million computers across the country that just got infected. This gives you a lot of control over the system. It also opens up some issues. There's all things with the desktop. I'll change something eventually once I get something I feel comfortable changing. Now, software. If I expand to software, and I would encourage you to go in here and explore. Don't delete anything. Don't add anything. Just expand these and look at what's on your system. You can make a backup of it before you start messing around with it. Like if I have this highlighted, if I right click, you see there's an export. That'll make a backup of all your settings. So if you do delete something by accident, you can double click that file that exports and it'll load it all back in. I have one computer I still haven't finished rebuilding from last spring that I screwed up because I meant to delete an entry I created in I think it was C# class, and I had current user highlighted up here when I pressed the delete button. And when it does that, it destroys your entire setup, and you have to reinstall a lot of stuff. Okay, anyway, software. Here's Blender that we use in the animation course. NetBeans is probably here. It's probably under Oracle if I had to guess. Maybe not. I'm not seeing Oracle. You can do searches. Let's see if I can find Oracle or NetBeans. NetBeans is Apache, isn't it? I'm thinking Java. I don't see an Apache. This is not what you might think. This is something to do with compatibility assistant. F3. If I can't find it fairly fast, then I'll stop looking. Okay. Sometimes it takes me forever to actually locate something. Xamarin. Visual Studio. Never could get that to work. So I probably feel safe I can mess with that. But here's some settings for Android. The SDK directory, Java SDK. See, it's pointing to 1.8. This is where maybe if I updated my Java, I would need to change this setting here. Now, you can change this setting probably in the program. So you don't have to necessarily go here and set it. Okay. Microsoft. Somewhere it should be Microsoft. If you expand that, this is all things dealing with Microsoft. Somewhere in here is Notepad. That's one I played with before. And here's all the settings. Windows position X, position Y, 39. To C. Don't know what those are. I can't convert to hex in my head. Font. There it is. Set as Cooper. If I set it to Arial. Don't know how this will work since I got it open. Let's see, format, font. Yeah, since I had it open, it's still set in the Cooper. Let me save this, or actually, I want to add copy it because I don't want to type it again. Okay, now if I bring up Notepad, assuming it didn't save my font when I exited out, you see now it's set to Arial. The window position. I don't know which one I'd want to choose, but that's 1B4, 4 times 16 to 0, that's 4. 16 the first times B, which is 11. Boy, I don't know. Okay, let's put 0 there. Actually, just notice, you can look at a decimal. 436. Let's put 0 there. And let me bring up Notepad. Notice where it moved it to. Moved it clear to the left. So it keeps track of where you last had it on the screen. So when I move it there and I close this, it would update this. Probably not since I'm in it. Oh, it did. That's interesting. Well, let's put 5,000 in there. Trying to break Notepad so I can never use it again. Boy, that'd be a blow to me. I use Notepad all the time. Okay, go to Notepad. And it didn't take it over to 5,000 because 5,000 isn't a valid number, I guess. 287. See, I don't even know what a valid number would be. 1,200. Let's try that. That's not what I want. Let's try 1,500. Not really what I wanted. Give it one more try, then I'll give up. 1600. 1600 is invalid because it'd be off the screen. Now it used to be you could play with this and you could have a window over here off the screen that you couldn't access, and you're sitting there, well, how in the world do I get that back? And they've obviously fixed that issue with Windows 10. But if you couldn't get it back, you go in here, you can manually set it, and that put it back. Again, knowing what every one of these settings is, nobody does because I didn't write Notepad. That's why I said it'd probably take you a lifetime to learn everything, every setting that's been set. Okay, what I really want to show you though, we're in Microsoft. Come down to Windows, current version, and there's a run. These are the items that are running when I start up my computer. Um, Here we got a OneDrive. I don't use OneDrive, so this by running is consuming system resources. To get my computer to be faster, not that I need it for this computer, I would delete this entry. Now you shouldn't delete entries you don't know what they are, but this is how some viruses will hit. They'll put it in here where it's always being run. Um, so you'll see it here, and they disguise it by giving it the same name as some of these programs. Like if I wrote a virus that was called OneDrive.exe and put it in this location, then you would have a hard time telling that it's not the OneDrive.exe. Now, virus checking packages, malware packages, and so forth. What they do is they'll store off the size of the file. They'll even store off the date. The date's I can put any date on a file. I can make it any size even. But they'll even store off some signature byte information. So when they're going through and doing a virus check, they're just not looking to see if you have a file named OneDrive.exe. They're looking to make sure it's the same file size, the date's not screwy, and it has those files as signatures. Run once. Nothing's in there, but if you're installing a program that says I need you to reboot and then I'll finish the installation, it's putting something in the run once, so that when it reboots, it'll finish that. Windows T sometimes has that in here too. Not sure if I see a run anywhere though, so I must not have it there. I have one student in one of my workshop classes. Her computer is just as slow as you could imagine, and she said she needs to get optimized. And I could go through and delete programs for her, and I might do it before it's all said and done, because it doesn't take very long to just delete these registry entries. Again, before I'd want to do it though, let me locate Windows. Windows. Run. I right click this and I choose export, and run. I call it run. Click save. Now over here, so I remember where I saved it at. No memory. You'll see a run.reg. If I right click on it and I choose open with WordPad, this is all the different settings. This is what would allow me to load it back in. So when I double click this, it'll load it back in. Now I could even change this at this point. So if I want to change this instead of background, I change it to background 2. Save that. Not sure how this will work since I have registry open, but I'll double click this. It's asking me, do you want to allow this app to make changes to your device? I'll say yes. Adding information can unintentionally change or delete values. Okay, I know that. I think I know what I'm doing this time. Are you sure you want to continue? I'll say yes. Keys and value contained have been successfully added to the registry. Now, if I come over here and look at this OneDrive, I see now it has a number 2 on the end. This is how you can push out a setting to 500 users at your company. Is you figure out what the setting should be, you export it as a reg file, and then the networking software allows you to push out that registry to everybody in the entire company. So overnight, if you need to put a policy in place such that they can't do this or that, then you can do it. If you want everybody to run the same program every morning when they boot up, then you can put an entry in here. Does that make sense on somewhat on like I say, I could teach a whole class probably on registry if I research it enough myself. But does that make sense on the basics on that? Okay. Don't try to sit there and understand every one of these. That's not your goal. Because you'd spend a lifetime understanding these, and you'd have no clue what some of them ever even mean. Why they called this one 0A37743E, so forth, who knows? Maybe that's the code that goes with authenticating the Windows software. Now you also, that's current user. For the machine, you'll have some of the options the same. If I go to software, Microsoft, is Apache in here? Android Studio is. Okay. Microsoft. And go down to Windows. A lot more settings than what I had. I think current version, and then run. Security health. Security health system tray. I'm assuming that's something for the IBM ThinkPad. Here's Sophos. That's our virus. What runs our virus check. So that's what keeps a computer safe. If I'm a virus, if I can get in here and delete this entry, then when you reboot, you're not going to have any virus protection. Here's Snagit that automatically runs every time I load it. Each time you click, if it asks you, do you want to check for updates for like new versions? And people just willy-nilly click yes. That sounds great. I want to be notified when there's a change, when there's a new feature. And it sounds like a good idea. But when you do that, it will automatically put in here in the run, it'll put commands. And if you put enough items in here, then unless you have one of the newer hard drives, it's going to take forever for your system to load. So I always tell them no on that. If I want a new version, I'll go out and check to see if there's any new versions, because I'll keep this clean. Run once probably doesn't have anything in it. No. Don't know why, but besides Windows, there's oftentimes a Windows NT. Current version. And I don't see a run. Sometimes they are there, so you just have to look. Now I'm going to show you a utility that's probably the best thing that you'll see in a programming class. That's going to allow you to easily change different things about your system. Don't got really time to take the show today, but sometime during the semester. Sys internals. It's from Microsoft, so it's not like some bizarre. Oh, here it is. Win internals system. Windows website offers technical resources. I thought it was just www.sysinternals. Let me go to here. Make sure we're the right one. Well, I guess it is live. You go here, it's a very boring site. Almost looks like there's a virus. These are all the different utilities that you can use to check different things out on your system. So healthmonitoring.html, hexadecimal, that's interesting. I'm not going to show you all this. You can imagine teaching you every one of these utilities would take probably a whole year, maybe. The one we're going to take a look at is this auto run S. And actually, I got time probably just to run it. You see, the C is for command line. So I want to auto run S. If I click it, it'll download it, and then I'll run it. Has to be, I have to agree here. This brings up, and this very user-friendly, shows you what's being loaded, what's being run. If I make any changes, it'll ask me to rerun it as an administrator. I don't know how to make that bigger so you can see it. See, there's a run as administrator. So if you know you're going to make changes, then you go ahead and do that. That looks as good as it gets. You see over here all the different options. Here's what runs at logon. So this, if I didn't want it consuming memory, I could delete it, or even better, you just uncheck it here, and then you could, it stays there, but it just doesn't run it. All kinds of different settings, and I don't know all these different settings here myself. These are all the services that are running. So if your computer's going really slow, it could be some of these shouldn't be running. Looks like I'm running Windows Defender. Thunderbolt service is probably important. If I disable that, then that's probably going to cause some issue. You should know what you're doing when you come in here. But if you got a computer, you're going to just scrap anyway because it's so slow. What do you have? What do you have to lose? Just come in here and here's the programs that are running under Windows Logon. I guess nothing. Excuse me. Now these are all the things that are in the run, and it tells you. It says this is under software, Microsoft, Windows, current version, run. Some of these I didn't know. See, here's a current control set, control, safe boot, alternate shell. Here's a WoW 6432 node Windows. This is my Sun Java update. I don't like these. I don't know. I don't think I said yes at any point. But this is going out and making sure I got the newest version of Java. Now, if you're in a company where you got it locked down, like here at Cali, they don't allow me to install software on my main computer. Now this laptop they allow me to do it, but my main computer I can't install software. So why do I want an update checking to see if I got the newest version if I can't install the software anyway? And they don't always have that configured right because I don't know how many times it comes up and asks me, do you want to update this, update that, and if I say yes, it requires an admin password, so I just have to keep closing it down. Here's one. I don't use Facebook Game Room. I'm not sure what it is. I think I installed it when I installed one of the Unity. It was Unity that put that on there. Anyway, this shows you very user friendly. So if you're trying to fix a computer, somebody says their computer's going real slow, they're thinking about buying a new one. Download this Auto Run S. To actually make changes, you have to rerun it as administrator. So you have to file run as administrator. And don't delete it. Just come in here and uncheck these. And I'm not currently as administrator, so won't let me do that. But uncheck these, reboot it, and see if it runs fast for them. Oftentimes, I will search these in Google myself, and I'll see what they are. Because there's some of them maybe you don't want Here's scheduled tasks. Here's a agent fallback, whatever that is. So I might Google that to see if it's something I want to be running. You'll have errors out here. Here's a Office 15 subscription heartbeat, whatever that is. It says file not found. Well, that's not even running anyway. So that's something you could get rid of. And you see some of these say they're verified, so they're legitimate. Well, we're out of time, so I'll go ahead and stop there. But yeah, good site. Questions on anything? Okay, I'll go ahead and save the recording.